Sawyer is known as a strict boss. Well, not the type that would make people dread coming to work, but strict in the sense that he has a very hands-on approach. He knows his staff are the best in their craft, but he constantly gives them instructions to check the gauges of all the fuel pumps, look at the reports, and compare the figures on the previous months. This may seem like a lot of work, but Sawyer's employees follow his instructions to the T. They have the utmost respect for Sawyer, the owner of the most prestigious gas station in town, since he built his business from the ground up and thus understands the value of hard work. For this reason, Sawyer knows the needs of his employees and treats them fairly. This is not to say, though, that he's lenient. No. The staff knew that one major misstep and they could be fired, so they usually talk amongst themselves and say, "Have you finished your task? Are you sure you did it well?" You know Sawyer's strict, right? One day, as Sawyer was working in his office, he heard a knock on the door. "Come in," he called out. As the door opened, a slender, strikingly beautiful woman walked in. Sawyer was almost tongue-tied, but he couldn't let it show. "How may I help you?" he asked. "Hi, I'm Kamri. I'm here for the job opening." And when she saw that Sawyer was about to say no, she hastily added, "Please, I'm willing to work any job I can do here. I'm raising my little girl alone, so I really need this job." Moved and slightly attracted, Sawyer answered, "Well, the only position I can offer you is the cashier job." "That's good enough for me. Thank you very much. You'll never regret hiring me," Kamri declared. And she stayed true to her words. Her work is impeccable, and she gets along with the other employees too. A few months later, Sawyer was surprised when Kamri barged into his office without knocking, but didn't even let him speak. In a seemingly single breath, Kamri said, "I'm sorry, but I just barely stopped your son from getting hit by oncoming traffic. I was on my way to the store when I saw him. You should never let your child go anywhere near a busy highway." To that, Sawyer was in shock. To say that Sawyer was in shock is an understatement. He hurriedly went to his son and scolded him. "Caden, didn't I tell you to stay inside the office? Who knows what could have happened if Kamri didn't see you?" At that, Caden burst out crying, so Sawyer gently enfolded him in his arms and whispered, "I'm sorry," I shouted. "I was just scared. Don't do that again, okay?" Caden dutifully answered, "Yes, Daddy." Out of gratitude, Sawyer offered money to Kamri, but she declined, so Sawyer offered to give her a ride home instead. And since she's supposed to pick up her daughter Mindy and is running late, Kamri agreed. Mindy and Caden, almost of the same age, instantly bonded in the car on the way home. Since then, Kamri would bring Mindy to work so the two kids could play. A few weeks later, the business had once again settled into a comfortable routine. When Sawyer checked his calendar and saw that today's date was circled in red, he hurriedly left and went in the direction of the cemetery. It is the 6th anniversary of his best friend Austin's death. He wasn't surprised to see flowers already there, since Austin was a great guy and was loved by many. But what surprised him was seeing Kamri walking in his direction. "What are you doing here?" they asked at the same time. "He was my best friend," answered Sawyer. "Oh, he's Mindy's father." Both of them were surprised at how small the world is. They sat on the grass and talked about Austin, what kind of a friend he was, and how he was as a partner. As they were both talking about a person so close to their heart, they didn't notice the time passing by quickly. "Oh my God, it's way past my lunch break. I'm going to get scolded," Kamri exclaimed. Sawyer burst out laughing. "Who'll scold you? You have your boss here beside you." But the two of them started back. On the way, Sawyer said, "Why don't you move in with me? You and Mindy. Austin was my best friend. It's time to pay him back." As can be expected, Kamri was quick to decline. "What would people say? I'm a single mom and you're a single dad. Rumors will start flying." "So let them. Better yet, marry me. I like you. I've liked you since the first time I saw you. So here I am officially proposing. What do you say?" Kamri blushed and slowly bobbed her head up and down. It didn't take long before the couple had an intimate wedding. When Kamri and Mindy moved in with Caden and Sawyer, no one was happier than the two kids. "I have a mom now," said Caden, while Mindy quipped, "And I have a dad now too." Falling easily into the new family dynamics, Caden assumed the role of an elder brother and became protective of Mindy. Things were going smoothly, except one day, Patricia, Sawyer's ex-wife who abandoned him and Caden when their son was barely 2 months old, appeared in Sawyer's office and said she wanted them back. Sawyer was so mad he was seething red. He shouted, "You are not and never was Caden's mother. Shut your trap and get out of here. Never go near me or Caden ever again." Seeing Sawyer's rage, Patricia hurriedly left. But it turns out it was not a sign of retreat. She formulated a sinister plan with an ex-lover who also happened to be a street criminal. When Kamri, Mindy, and Caden were out in the park one morning, a heavy-tinted car stopped beside them and a masked man grabbed Caden. Kamri tried desperately to stop them, but she was shoved aside. She immediately called Sawyer and told him what happened. Sawyer then called the police and told them it was probably his ex-wife, Patricia. Although the police knew it was Patricia, as she was caught on an intersection camera, they lost her and didn't know which way she went. The investigators urged Sawyer to think about where Patricia might go. He knew Patricia had no friends, and her family had long disowned her for leaving her own son, so she had nowhere to go. When he saw Kamri walking towards him after having dropped Mindy at her grandmother's, Sawyer realized there is a place Patricia may think to go: Austin's cottage. They went there once as a couple, and she knew that the key was kept under a vase. Sawyer, Kamri, and the gas station employees went to the cottage. As they peeked in the window, they saw Caden huddled in the corner, with tears streaming down his face. Patricia was screaming at him to stop, which just made him cry even more. Angered at what they saw, the men barged in the front door as Kamri and Sawyer ran towards Caden. "Mummy, Daddy, I'm scared," he wailed. "She said she's my mommy, but she's not." With tears flowing down her face, Kamri carried Caden out and home, leaving Sawyer to deal with Patricia and her accomplice. As Kamri, Mindy, and Caden are cocooned in a tight embrace at home, Sawyer and the men brought Patricia to the station where she was detained. Soon after, a court date was released and they were both found guilty of abduction and were sentenced accordingly. With Patricia behind bars, Kamri and Sawyer can rest easy. When their child was born, Caden became an even more protective big brother. Fortunately, Caden doesn't remember much about the incident, just that there was a black car and Mummy and Daddy came after him. Since then, the family of four lived harmoniously together, with the occasional bickering of the children, as is normal. "Now this is what I call home," said Sawyer, as he gazed lovingly at his family.